Hey guys, this is Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn, and today we're gonna try to counter Gotham Chess really annoying Vienna Gambit. Levy Rosman, aka Gotham Chess, is a big fan of this opening, and it is an e4, e5 opening where white delays knight f3, white starts with this move knight c3, and after knight f6, they strike the pawn with the idea using the f pawn, known as the Vienna game. Vienna game or Vienna Gambit. The idea is they gambit the f4 pawn. My advice is don't take that pawn. Okay, the problem if you take that pawn, you're giving white this powerful center. They can start with e5, and this knight would have to retreat. They're going to play d4, grab that pawn, and that's bad news. So usually when you see a move like that, you want to strike the center, counterplay in the center, and the key move here is d5. And this is the whole point of the setup, right? We are striking with the counter gambit. So what does white typically do? The main line is to take on e5, and here we take the pawn on e4, and here Gotham Chess recommends queen f3 to bother this knight, anticipating black will take. Speaking of knight takes c3, it is the most common move. It's not a bad move per se, but I don't recommend this move because after pawn takes d4, white will build this powerful pawn chain, and this queen, and if the rook ever lands on f1, will put some pressure on f7. So I don't recommend you to do this. Instead, there's a very powerful idea that you should know, this move f5 𝐥𝐸, and I love this move a lot. Now the problem is if white takes on f6, white loses that central grip, right? This is already a pretty decent position for black. You can even take back with the knight now. This queen is going to be a nuisance with bishop g4 coming up next. You have a center pawn and black doesn't, and his king is going to be more exposed after you play bishop e7 castles, for instance. So that's why most players don't take en passant, allowing black the stronghold in the center, and they kick the knight with d3. Now we're going to trade, and now is important moment. Again, you don't want to allow this powerful pawn chain. You want to play d4 yourself. Break up the coordination, get this pawn unprotected from his friends. White has tried various moves, queen g3 being the most common move, offering this pawn sacrifice on c3. I don't recommend you go pawn grabbing. Again, the theme here is rapid development. Knight c6 is my recommendation. Again, they offer the pawn typically with bishop e2. Bishop wants to land on f3. Don't take the pawn on c3. Play bishop e6. Keep in mind, c4 is always met with bishop check. This king will not be able to castle. So bishop f3 is kind of the common move here. Now I like queen d7. Black gets ready to castle queenside with a very, very good position. Now here there's one specific game that I want to point out. White player was Carissa Ip. She is a former women's US champion. I think she won the title at like the age of 18 or something like that, which is quite young. But Carissa was white, and she actually tried this aggressive setup, and it failed miserably, and her opponent was strong 2400 player Justin Wang, I think. Knight e2, black now takes on c3, bishop e3, knight b4. Already things are not looking good for white, because after knight b4, this is a pretty serious threat, setting up a fork. So Carissa says, I'm going to protect my pawn. Please take the a2 pawn instead. But notice that again, black is not interested in grabbing more pawns. I love this move, knight d5, solidifying the center, protecting the c pawn, attacking the bishop. White played bishop f2, and black simply castled with a great game. Black went on to win the game, I should point that out. So this is my recommendation, and this is how you can punish Gotham Chess favorite opening. Any questions so far?
So I was wondering if we go back to the earlier part of the opening.
Sure.
if there's any sort of popular variations that we need to discuss. For example, right here, instead of the queen f3 move that
Even
white
back.
plays, then was all their openings that maybe knight f3 is white would probably be another
That's
option.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this used to be the main line.
Yeah.
I used to play this as a kid over, I don't know, 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That's how old I am. But the idea of knight f3 is they're kind of waiting for you to take this knight, right? And if you take this knight, then they can take either d takes c to open up the bishop, or b takes c to again create the powerful pawn chain. So as the theme goes, we don't want to take on c3, guys. So my recommendation is not to do that. You can simply play bishop e7, and idea is to castle. So this is a relatively easy way to do that. And if they do strike this knight with d3, now we take, and you castle. So while white is busy building this beautiful pawn chain, white is losing precious time and leaves his king in the middle of the board. That gives black excellent chances to open up the game with f6. Once you know to open up the game, it's extremely difficult for white to finish development because the center is already collapsing here. So if you play, let's say, bishop to d3, black can't even take the pawn. You don't have to. You can play bishop g4, but these are the kind of positions you can play. As long as g5 square is firmly protected, you're never afraid of any bishop h7. You just take and say, thanks for the free piece. This kind of Greek sack simply doesn't work. Knight takes e5 enables various bishop h4 checks, although here I don't think it's as powerful. You can simply play queen e8, for example. Again, he can't castle. You're putting pressure here. Knight c6 maybe next. You're stopping queen h5, and the f file is controlled by black. Any other questions?
Let's go back to the point where we played knight f3. Any other options we'll see if they explore thoroughly as white. So what if they go as white, pawn d3, not making any moves in f3 first, but just attacking the knight?
Yeah, good question. So the idea here is they immediately challenge the knight, and they may be setting up a trap. If you want to give this check, it looks like you're just crushing with knight takes g3. But they do have an interesting idea, knight f3. And I think this is actually pretty good for white. Because if you take on h1, your queen is under attack. And if you move the queen, they take the knight. So as long as you don't fall for this trap, I think you can safely just take on c3 here. Okay, and then after b takes c3, we already know the drill. We play d4, and the situation is very similar to the queen f3 line. You kind of stop white from easy development. If knight f3 here, you can activate your knight. The bishop could get active to e6 or g4, and then based on the situation, you can either play bishop e7 castle this way, or more ambitious plan is to castle queenside.
Hey, check this video out to make sure that you get more important information to bring your chess to the next level.